This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. I got my man Tony Crow. We got Steph in the building. And we getting ready, ladies and gentlemen, for game 2 of the Knicks versus Pistons tonight, 7:30 p.m. at the Garden. And yeah, obviously it's a big one. You know what I mean? Steph, glad to see you. It seems like it's been a while. I haven't been on your show.
I
In a
know
while.
it has
I haven't been here. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm down in Georgia on that southern internet, so y'all let me know if my audio or my video,
Yeah.
if there's
Okay.
a issue. But yeah, I definitely miss being here. So it's good to be back, and excited and a little nervous about tonight's game.
Yeah, for real. Me too. Yeah, I'm definitely a little nervous about tonight's game, but you know, if we can get this one, if we win tonight, you know what I'm saying? You know, we put a lot of pressure on Detroit. They kind of young. Don't know if they can handle that. You know, they got a few vets,
Yeah.
but you know, can they handle that kind of pressure? And you know, they have a few vets, but they don't have vets that have had to handle that pressure by themselves. Tobias Harris, we know his track record.
Right.
You know, he can be up and down. Tim Hardaway Jr. up and down. So, you know,
They have vets that haven't
Yep.
lived up in the biggest moments.
yeah,
You
Right.
know what I mean? They have vets that kind of have disappeared, you know, some would argue, in the biggest moments.
yeah,
So it's like, yeah, they were great for them in the regular season. The experience they have for the playoffs, I don't think it's the same as, you know, we got a couple guys here that have been to the finals, right? I
Right.
think that means something from different teams. You know what I mean? So I think that means a little bit more. Even a PJ Tucker and his experience, you would argue with his role, he's excelled in his playoff experiences and will have more to say than, you know,
yeah.
a Tobias Harris or
Right. Yeah, I think. I mean, it's a golden opportunity for the Knicks to really put some pressure on them, and maybe make them wilt. You know what I mean? I mean, we seen it in game 1. You know, they wilted in game 1 down the stretch when the Knicks turned up the pressure. You know, so I mean, it would make sense if you could turn up the pressure in the series. Then they might just start to wilt. You know what I'm saying?
Hey Queen, Sam, let me just say, Queen is being modest. You know, in her absence, she has arisen the rankings in the Knicks podcast world. You know, she's been featured on the major platforms. You know, outside of your own. You know what I mean? But you know, shout out to the Queen.
Yeah, shout out to you for that. That's dope, man.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That only happens because I got the exposure on NBK, so I know what it
Appreciate
is.
that. That's dope. Tony, just your feelings about the game tonight.
You know, after watching it a second time, I'm actually more confident than I was. You know, after the first watch, after the first post game show that, and my initial reactions on your show as well, Queen Dope. So, you know, a day after when I didn't watch it again, I thought they out hustled us, they outworked us, they wanted it more in the first half. Off my initial watch, my reaction is actually different. I think there were circumstances in that kept the game closer than it should have been in the first half. I think if Brunson shoots the ball well, I think it becomes a blowout early,
Yeah.
and that same reaction that they had to deal with in the fourth quarter, maybe they would have had to deal with in the first half. Um, so so yeah, I'm actually a lot more confident
Okay.
after the rewatch than I was
Yeah.
initially.
See, I feel like we might get their second best punch tonight. And, their third best comes one of those home games, I think. You know what I'm saying? But I think they come out, I think they're still confident. And I think
Well,
they
when you actually saying their best punch tonight because you think they'll play better tonight than last game.
I think they will.
Okay.
I think they're gonna be I think they'll be a little more aggressive. I think they're gonna play defense a little tighter. They'll have some adjustments, and then now the Knicks win still. Then one of those games at home, probably game three, is going to be like their best punch. You know what I'm saying? I think they have. I mean, I know that they're young and they have a lot to learn, but I think they have the makeup of a good, really good basketball team. And so
Is
I think
there
they can.
particular is there a particular area that worries you more than another? A particular area, like for me, I would say, oh, we only really had Josh Hart in foul trouble. If it's a more
Yeah, I was,
vital piece, Brunson
yeah,
or Towns, you know what I mean? Even OG, especially OG, you know what I mean? Like if he's in foul trouble, I think that could be a real
yeah.
game changer.
And I was gonna
Not in
say
our
foul
favor.
trouble. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say foul
Yeah.
trouble. What was you gonna say, Steph?
I didn't even think about that if OG's in foul trouble because, you know, I thought Bridges did. I thought Bridges did well with Cade in terms of keeping him in front, but Cade is with his strength was still able to create much more space off of Bridges than off of OG to get his shot off over the top. So now if OG's in foul trouble, now we got to go to Bridges, who's not as physical.
Yeah,
Maybe you go to Josh Hart, who likes to reach, and maybe he now gets into foul trouble. So it's important that OG. I didn't even think about that, Tone. That OG stays out of foul trouble.
yeah, for sure. And I think they find Cade had some trouble in the first half in the first game. The Knicks defended him
Mhm.
well, and I think they worked to try to find ways to get him the ball maybe a little bit easier. He's gonna feel like he needs to step up. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
you know, so I think they take measures to help him to step up.
Do they have
Yeah.
an option to get him off ball? You know,
Shooter.
like but that's what I mean. Do they play a two guard lineup to get him off ball? Um, and does that change us defensively? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I,
Is it?
I think if Cade is off ball, that might be a little easier. Um, I think when he has the ball in his hand, he's the point of attack. On offense, that's a lot of screen navigation for OG Anunoby. If he's playing off the ball, maybe it's a smidgen easier. For him.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just thinking of ways to get him easier shots.
Ways to get Cade easier shots.
Yeah, wait, you know what I mean, for
Yeah.
ways for them to try to get K easier shots. Um,
I mean, they could. They could try to. I guess the thing is, can do they have someone who can penetrate enough to kick it out to him to get him easier shots? Unless they're gonna like post him up, try to get him some work in the post,
oh
and do
yeah,
some of those type of
then I'm
things.
not worried with OG down
Yeah,
there.
if he's got OG on him, you're not gonna be too much worried about the post. You know, but I think even with them having the ball, I think they'll find ways. You know what I mean? Some more pick and roll actions and things like that to try to get them a little freer, get them a little bit looser. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because knowing the Knicks and I mean, and why wouldn't you, do the same things to defend them? So now, according to the Pistons, they don't feel the Knicks did anything different. Or according to Cade, he doesn't feel the Knicks did anything different to defend them. You know what I'm saying? So basically, he's saying it was me. You know, so we'll see. I feel like he has heart. You know what I mean? So he's gonna try to step in and step up. I still think the Knicks win the game, though. You know what I mean? I think I do feel like that run, the aggressiveness we've seen in that 21-0 run, that then I'm hoping that the Knicks understand from that. We need this in our game to win. We need the desperation to win.
Can I just say something based off the rewatch? I feel like the energy was the same for the Knicks first half and second. I feel like a lot of times, we'll get us. The difference was, we'll get a stop, but not get that offensive rebound or defensive rebound. Pardon me. We'll get a stop, but the ball go out of bounds. So now it's like they still got the ball with a short possession, but you know what I mean. Technically, like we was right there for that stop. So it was really about like just 50-50 balls and like little things that didn't go our favor. That if they would have, that along with obviously Brunson not shooting well, but
Right.
Brunson not shooting well and K not shooting well balance each other out.
Balances each
If
other
they,
out.
you know what I mean, if they both playing well, again, I think that also balances each other out, and then it's really not even about them no more. It's about the supporting cast.
Right. 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 Now, Isaiah Stewart is out tonight. Steph, you were gonna say something, but how do you think that affects the game? Isaiah Stewart being out.
I mean, after Duran, even though Duran didn't start on Cat, Duran started on Hart. But again, after Duran is Tobias Harris, unless they have somebody else on that bench who they feel comfortable with. The rookie, how tall is he? Is he a Hollis?
He's a
He's more a guard, small forward type. He looks thin to me, but that don't mean nothing. And they'll still he's
Right.
okay. So yeah, I think that definitely helps us. I mean, Stewart didn't have a really good game, but I thought that he would return to in game 2 and be a problem. So he's not in. That definitely helps us. But I just think that the Knicks can't rely on that. I think the Knicks have to handle their business regardless of who's in. But he's their number one rim protector, if I'm not mistaken. And then he can also defend in space. Duran is not that guy.
Right.
So I think that bodes well for us.
Yeah, I think it, because he adds to the physicality. You know what I'm saying, that Cat has to deal with. Just the physicality. He's a key piece to their the physical nature. You know what I mean? So I think definitely. I think it definitely affects the game. Tony, were you going to say something about how you think it affects the game?
No, I just think it's a bonus for us. I think if we utilize the double big lineup, I think that becomes even more of a useful situation for us. I think Cat in general could be a little bit more aggressive in the paint, go after Duran or whoever, you know what I mean? But you get Duran in foul trouble, you know what I mean?
Right.
They got limited options moving forward, and now
Yeah.
you could dominate more. You know what I mean? Points in the paint, all that stuff, everything at the rim. So I think you take advantage of it, it becomes a trickle effect and can benefit on different levels.
Do you think though, if they put Duran on Mitch, that kind of hides him in terms of getting into foul trouble, as opposed to putting him on a Cat where
Yeah.
he has to defend in space, and that also puts Duran closer to the basket for rim protection as well.
I think they would. I think they would have to. But I'm looking at it like, obviously we're not starting the game that way with the double big. So it's for Cat to or whomever he's guarding early to kind of try to
Right.
get him in foul trouble early. I think he had 2 fouls early as well as Thompson
He did.
in the first game. So yeah, that has to be the same motto, the same MO. Like you, that hurts them even more now.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let me get to a phone call real quick. We got my man Ant Dunbar on the line. What's popping with you, brother? How you feeling?
How we doing?
I mean, it's game two. It's game two. I feel good about winning game one. Now we in the game two. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but I think we pull it out. I think we win.
Of course you feel good. You're a true blue Knicks fan.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
You're not sitting around hedging your bets and rewarding all over the place, if that's even a word. Yeah. You may be not as outrageous as I'm about to be.
Oh, shoot. Uh-oh.
Knicks in 4.
Okay.
Okay? I'm gonna help y'all out.
Right,
Knicks in I go back to the 76ers. 4. Not even 4. Four.
So Detroit doesn't get one. Not one.
Not one. Not one. Detroit's best defenders has one leg. Can't play. Tried to play him in the fourth quarter. 48 seconds.
Okay.
You're rolling out with Tobias Harris, a 6'6" journeyman, on Cat. What are we doing?
Okay, but let me say this though. As much as I like Cat, smaller players have been successful on him. Now I'm not gonna say Tobias is really aggressive, but smaller, aggressive players, strong lower bodies, I think have been effective in pushing him outside of the paint because Cat doesn't really back his guys down. You know what I'm saying? So let's hope that turnaround fadeaway is working for Cat all night. That's
Tobias was guarding him, he was 4 out of 5.
Okay. I mean, I get that. That was in game one.
That's just the straight raw numbers. 4 out of 5. If they want to continue with that type of matchup, I look at their team like, what is all this? What is all of this angst about? It's the playoffs. Guys get paid to do their best. They're supposed to look decent, up until a certain point when they're supposed to fall off, which they did.
Okay. I mean, they did.
I don't hear a lot of people, and salute Tony Crow, Steph. I see you. Even though you've been freezing me out of the paint, but I see you. I'm just joking. But even with our inabilities at times, it's just like, all right, we'll find it. We'll get it together because this team doesn't offer anything that we shouldn't get it together. You understand what I'm saying? Like who's their post player? They have none. Okay? You put the type of defense or the type of effort that they played against their point in game one, and it made it really difficult for him. He's supposed to say they didn't do anything different. No, they did a lot of things different.
Of course he's going to say that.
Against him. So I'm just enjoying the ride. Let's have a good game. 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 4-4-4.
All right. I mean, I hope it happens. I want it to happen. Trust me. I don't know if it's going to be that way. But of course I want it to happen. I don't think we're going to sweep them.
I think you're worried about Tim Hardaway Jr. You're afraid that all of the karma that you used to spread against him is going to come back.
Yo, I don't know. I don't think we're going to sweep them. I think we're going to beat them. I'm going to see how I predicted 4-2. Let's see how tonight goes. You know what I'm saying? If the Knicks blow them out tonight, then maybe it's a gentleman's sweep.
Okay.
You know?
I'll reserve the right to disagree with you.
Okay.
But anyway,
All
I
right.
know you got other people and so forth. Salute to you all. Y'all know what it is.
Either way,
Knicks
we
family
both got
for
to
life.
win in the series. We both got to win in the series.
Well,
They better.
that goes without saying.
They better with it.
I'm
They
not
better.
gonna go on anywhere and feel any different than how I normally feel.
Let me ask you this.
This is the time of the year that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
We're not waiting for August.
No.
We're waiting for it now.
Now. Right. Let me ask you this, though. The first 3 quarters of Game 5, in the third quarter of Game 5, Knicks down 8. They were down 8, top of the fourth quarter. Were you nervous?
No. I was upset, but I wasn't nervous.
All right. So you felt you knew that you felt like they was gonna come back, the Knicks.
Yeah, I felt like because I didn't see us playing our best brand of basketball just in that game.
I don't think we're gonna see us playing our best brand of basketball against them. I think it's gonna get more physical as we go, and the more desperate Detroit gets, the more physical they're gonna get. You know
physicality is fine, but you gotta have guys to be physical with. If they're gonna ask Duran to be, to carry on that mantra or whatever, who's behind him? He can't stay on the floor.
Well, okay.
He has to be. He's a handsy type of guy. You don't want a handsy type of guy guarding Cat.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like it's some of those things. Yeah, in theory, it could be implemented, but you have to have the bodies to implement them. If the Knicks just play anywhere near our game, and when I say our game, I mean offensively, pushing the ball, like the first 3 quarters, and Tony said it was a missed rebound here, a miss something there, and they couldn't get up in that rhythm to where Hart can get you the 1-on-3 fast break, the 1-on-1, and then all of a sudden when they connected and Cameron Payne goes ham and the coach takes Deuce out, is going with Brunson and Payne, and he's riding that almost all the way. Then he brings Bridges back in, for defense and for length and so forth. So if they just played, not even their best game, I'm just talking about just how they played, just by moving the ball a bit more. Brunson's going to do his thing. People look at the shot line, 12 for 27, so what? Brunson. Some of those shots, could they be better? Absolutely. But I'm just talking about just overall them just moving the ball a little bit more.
Yeah,
and
that's
Cat
definitely
being just a little bit more aggressive in the beginning of the game. But you got to realize everybody can't shoot. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely.
Like for instance,
I think definitely they got to move the ball more. You can't get caught, in isolation, holding the ball for 10, 15 seconds. Their defense is too aggressive for that. They're physical players. You got to keep them moving.
But when you're overly aggressive, right?
Yeah.
With a passing center like Cat that is not looking to set a screen and nothing else, when he gets the ball off of that screen and he's able to look and see who's going to cut, you can be over aggressive all you want. He's the kind of player where he'll make the pass.
Yeah. Well, that's what we got to do. You play against an aggressive defense, then the cutting is it's like in football playing against an aggressive defense, right? A pass rushing aggressive blitzing defense. You know what I'm saying? You use that against them. Same thing.
Yeah, you use that against them, and you just stay stay true to what you do.
Yeah.
You know, first round. It's his first round. You're gonna try a couple little things here or there, and
Okay,
you
let's
know,
not get too. Don't get
nothing.
too
It's
cute. Talk
nothing
about try a couple
to
of
get
things here and
angst
there. Don't
about.
get too cute. Let's just do what we doing winning. You trying to get cute now? Let's just.
No,
Shoot.
I don't
Talk
mean
about
it.
his
I don't
first
mean it
round.
that blasé. I don't mean it that blasé. What I mean is like a lot of people probably didn't think he was going to play 9.
Okay, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
If this was in the second round, is he playing 9? No,
Right.
not playing 9. He's not going to let Landry Shamet figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in the first round, you can see a little something.
Okay.
You know, not for a long stretch of time. Like I said, he gave Deuce what, 2 air balls?
I mean,
2.
listen. People, you know, if you're not Brunson or Cat or Hart, maybe even OG, you got a short leash.
And
He's not giving you no time. You got a short leash.
4 bench players played double-digit minutes. I don't know if we've seen that all year. So to me, that might be, you know what I mean? That might not change moving forward. You know what I mean? It may not be double digits, but I'm saying like the 9-man rotation, that might be what it is. The minutes may fluctuate, but to see, 4 guys off the bench with double-digit minutes, I can't recall a time or many times I've seen that in the regular season.
Right.
So that's a good sign in my opinion.
But I do think the competition matters. I think that might be something you can get away with versus Detroit that maybe you can't get away with Boston, because they put so much pressure on you that you have to have your best players out there.
I mean, there's an argument that
as much, as much.
There's an argument you may need it more against Boston. Like you got to look at what guys are doing in that moment, right? So you may need it.
Yeah.
Boston uses a full, not a full roster, but
we're not Boston though. You got to think about what the matchups are going to be. Like when we go deeper into our bench, are those guys as good as when Boston goes deeper into their bench? So if you're having bench players that are serviceable, I'm not decent, going up against really good NBA, and you lose those minutes, that puts a lot of pressure on your starters when they do come back into the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, my man AD, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. I'm there with y'all. It's just a happy time. Absolutely. 4-0. Remember I said it.
All right.
Salute to y'all.
All right. Salute. Peace. Shout out to my man G-Mo in the building. Last show, I seen him and I didn't get to shout him out. He said in the last show, Tony, that he was the first person to say Captain Clutch. That's what G-Mo said.
Yeah. Okay, G-Mo.
But was he the first one to?
He said he was
to market it and right.
Right. He said G-Mo said he was I don't know if he was joking or not, but he said he was the first one to say Captain Clutch.
Speaking of shout outs, I believe it's Jay Boogie's birthday, so I just want to shout him out.
It is.
Yeah,
happy
birthday,
Jay
Boogie.
Boogie.
Happy birthday, Jay Boogie. No doubt.
3 capital S's. Salute.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what you're doing. I know you're enjoying your birthday. Get this birthday win tonight. You know what I mean?
Word.
And somebody get the message to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no
Because
doubt.
I forgot to shout him out on my channel. So.
Yeah. What do the Knicks have to do? Any adjustments you see the Knicks got to do tonight?
I think there's a lot of things they got to continue. You know what I mean? I think staying out of foul trouble for the most part, with our vital guys is going to be super important.
Right.
OG somehow doing a similar job to what he did last game on Cade would be amazing. Pardon me. I don't know if there was really much they could clean up. Like I think a lot of guys played well. I would like to see some aggression from Mikal Bridges. I think 8 shots is not cool. I know he had 6 in the first half, so that makes it I mean even a little worse in my opinion.
Right.
So I would like to see I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 8 shots up in the first quarter tonight.
Mm.
That's serious just because I think that has to change. Um and I mean those are probably the few key things that come off the top of my head.
You see, Kevin's limit the open threes. Detroit shot 46.9% from the three
That's
point
that's a
line
fact.
last game. So
That's a fact.
definitely limiting those open threes as much as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
That's well above their average, though.
Yeah,
yeah,
Queen was
right,
pointing that out
right,
earlier.
well above their average. Yeah, you know, I think going back to the offensive side, just trying as much as we can not to ground and pound the ball. Trying to keep the ball moving, keep men moving. You know what I'm saying? As much as we can. There are going to be times when it comes down to it. It's just playoff basketball. It's going to be times and that's why we're glad we got Brunson and Cat that can score. But as much as we can, try to keep that ball moving. If they're going to be aggressive, make them have to move. Tire them out. You know what I'm saying? Make them have to move, and then and then score the ball. But I think if we are doing too much standing and watching, we're letting their defense rest. Right? We're letting them rest on defense, and that's gonna play into their hands. I think so. I think we got to keep them moving as much as we can.
Yeah.
And if Cat has mismatches, find it and go to it.
I was just about to say that
You know,
because not just him on Harris, but I think Harris should be a target as much as possible. I don't think he's a plus defender. I think that also puts a strain on him potentially having a 22-point half, even though I don't think he really ever puts together a 48-minute game. Um, but yeah, make him work defensively as much as possible. Same with Beasley. The guys who aren't the plus defenders, make them a target as much as possible.
yeah, yeah. What do you think, Steph?
Yeah.
What we got to do tonight, or what adjustments? Any adjustments you think we should make?
Mm, Nah, I think all adjustments have to come from Detroit's side. I
Okay,
think,
okay,
and then we, and then at that point, you know, Tibbs have to counter,
counter.
and then the team has to execute. I'm pretty sure, the coaching staff is not waiting for the adjustments. I'm pretty sure they've kind of gone through where they may try to do this, and if they do this, we'll do that to try to get ahead of it a little bit. Obviously,
Yeah,
you're not going to know until they do it. I'm not sure what Detroit, I mean, sure, they're going to probably want to limit the turnovers in the fourth quarter. Like listening to their press conferences, it was more about them, and what they need to do. They need to limit the turnovers, play like we played in the third quarter. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Probably try to get some switches on Cade Cunningham. And then the Knicks have to decide whoever they switch, is they going to play that guy straight up? Are they going to double? Everything runs through Cade.
right.
Everything runs
Everything.
through
Yeah,
runs through him. So whatever they do to free him up, we're gonna have to counter that. I want them to turn into a 3-point shooting team. Like they're not a high volume 3-point shooting team. I think they're number 17. So if they start popping up threes, kind of getting out of their game, you know,
right.
um, maybe that hurts them. They don't shoot it they shot what, 46, 47.
Yeah,
I
like
think usually
yeah,
they're like 36.
yeah.
So listen, Sam, those three players, Hardaway, Harris, and Beasley, has 64 points. I don't think that happens again.
Okay.
I
I
don't
hope
think that
not.
happens again.
Hope not. DeMarco, thank you for the super chat. He said, "Do you guys think Thibodeau should go to the Cat Sorry about that. Should go to the Cat and Mitch lineup more tonight. I did like what I saw in game one. I mean, I definitely like what I saw. I don't know if it's, I don't know if he's comfortable enough for it to be a staple yet. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to it. He's not afraid to go to it.
I think he used it a decent amount of time to where it doesn't necessarily have to increase. I like how it was. If it does increase, I think that is great too, because I really like what I saw between the two big lineup. I was talking about that earlier. How somebody had mentioned that it was we lost that battle, as far as they outscored us in those minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that negates um how we look defensively. And I think there was nuance again to us losing that battle, where it was kind of like missed shots still, and missed opportunities, not necessarily turnovers, but missed loose balls or missed defensive rebounds and things of that nature, where it was a quick stench. And Brunson and Mikhail coming in also coincide with that stint where we got
Yeah.
outscored.
Right.
So
I guess last question before we switch over to Queens Court. The 21-0 run, was that, how do I want to say it? That's not happening all game for the most part, I don't think. Right? I mean, the way we went on that kind of a run. That kind of a run is rare. I mean, 21-0. I mean, you see it every season, but it's probably not something that's going to happen every time you step out there. So, I mean, was it a fluke run, or was it because we put that, or was it the pressure that we actually put on them? What was it?
you go
Because
first, Queen.
I think. Let me know if my mic sounds better. I know it was cracking the last time.
yeah, it's good.
I think it was the Knicks turning it up. I think one of the questions I had about the Knicks coming into their game was their mental fortitude, and we can argue about whether or not they should have gone down by 9.
Mm-hmm.
But when they noticed they said within themselves, "We're not losing this game,"
Okay.
and they took it to another level. So I see it as the Knicks responding to a situation that, again, they probably shouldn't have been in, and turning up, defensively, getting out running, making the right passes. Josh Hart is much better in the open court handling the ball. Remember last year, Sim?
Yeah.
It was a straight
Yeah.
line. If he had to go left or right, it was a turnover. If he had
Right.
to pass it to somebody, it was a turnover. But he's better in terms of locating people in the fast break, and we were able to score. So I don't think it's something that, hopefully, we don't need to go on those types
Don't
of
want to need.
runs.
Yeah.
But it was good that they had the mental fortitude within themselves to dig a little deeper, because that
Yeah.
was the
Okay.
question I had about this team going into game one.
Right. Could we dig deeper? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
on
Yeah. To me.
on the rewatch, and Queen, maybe you noticed this because this is in the first half. We went on a 7-0 run, and we went on a 5-0 run. In both of those runs, um, one of the runs we actually missed two possessions where we came up empty, um, in the midst of a 7-0 run. So, if we score those two times, that brings it up another 4 to 6 points. You know what I mean? Whether it's 2 2s or 2 3s, you know what I mean? And then in the 5-0 run, um, we got 3 stops, and we came up empty in 3 possessions. So in those two opportunities, both of those runs could have been above, 10-0 runs. So I feel like it wasn't a fluke.
Okay.
Here's what I'll say to the flip side of it, though. In that 21-0 run, Beasley missed two wide open threes that could have stopped the runs at two separate points. You know what I mean? And some opportunities where they missed chippies.
Right.
And
right.
Towns got the rebound at the rim and things of that nature. So it may not be 21, but we could have these big 10-0 runs throughout the game against them in multiple times.
Right. The problem is they can have them against us too. I mean, they went up by 9, so they can have them against us too. Hopefully, our defense can. We go on those type of runs. Our defense doesn't let them back in it. You know what I mean? Because they can obviously go on those runs against us. We've seen it in the regular season. We've seen it for 3 quarters in the first game. Hopefully my hope is that we just come out with that kind of intensity right from the get-go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That we don't have to worry about going down or climbing back into the game. We just come out with that energy and intensity. And I think what we were talking about before the series even started, this series might be perfect for the Knicks to have to, battle
Build
through
grit.
a team like this to build that grit. So you go into Boston with having a little bit of it, understanding what you're facing, understanding how to play with that type of energy and that type of grit. So, yeah. I mean, my prediction is we win tonight, Tony.
I think we win big.
Okay.
I think we do, like you just said. You hope we do, and come out from the jump. I mean, we came out from the jump in game 1. You know what I mean? But I think we come out from the jump and kind of sustain it, set the tone, and sustain the tone.
Yeah.
And hopefully they lose it. They fold early.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna fight all the way.
Oh, they're gonna fight.
You know what I mean? Hopefully it's too far of a distance to overcome.
They might literally fight.
I mean, not with Stewart out there. Stewart ain't out there. They ain't.
I don't know.
They 80% less likely not to fight.
Yeah, Steph.
I think we win. I think there's some things we clean up. There was a few times we left Beasley open, like in transition. So I think we clean that up. There was like pick and roll confusion, like leaving Tobias wide open. They scored off of that. So I think there's some things that we clean up defensively and offensively as well. And I don't think it's close. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I don't think the win will be in doubt.
Yeah, okay, no doubt. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to switch you right over to the Queen's Court. As a matter of fact, when this ends, a link's going to come up. It's going to take you right there. All right. I definitely see you on the post-game show. Let's go Knicks. Let's go get this win.
Yeah.
Peace.
Let's go Knicks.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.